go. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. I gotta be honest with you. That game drove me nuts. I cannot believe the Buccaneers lost that game. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Tough one. Man, that was an absolute blazer from Cooch, wasn't it? What a crazy game. The Bulls are bowl-bound for the third season in a row. An incredible performance. And listen, we know the competition. They did what they had to do. No more silver linings. No more moral victories. It was put up or shut up time. And boy, did they rise to the occasion. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast, live from Benchmark International Arena. Happy March 26th, 2026, 3/26/26 to be specific. It's Ray's opening day. We got Lightning and Kraken tonight. We got USF news. We got Brian Schaefer of the Rowdies. What a show that we have for you today. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I got it all, man. Got it all for you. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. A big thank you to our partners at Evara Health and Honest Hammer Custom Builders. Couldn't do this without them. Couldn't do this without you. Make sure you kill that like button. And if you can, donate via the super chat, 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, $50, whatever you can do. Every little bit helps. We will talk about a little bit of everything on the program today. It's a smorgasbord of topics of conversation. We will start talking about Victor Hedman. Ray's opening day follows that. And then at 12:30, we have our weekly injury report with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez of Evara Health. We'll also discuss the new coach for USF men's basketball. 1:10, Brian Schaefer joins us, Tampa Bay Rowdies defender and also former USF Bulls standout. And then every single Thursday at 1:30, we are joined by Everyday Eddie Encina to talk all things Lightning, including what's going on with Victor Hedman, which we'll address right at the top of the show today. We heard the news yesterday that he was taking a leave of absence from the team. And, I don't really want to speculate, but I do want to give my 2 cents on the entire situation. I always want to hear from you guys. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. Shout out to Benny and the First Lady, Janet Best, for chiming in on the program. Again, kill that like button, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter/X. Baseball season started last night. The Yankees with a 7-0 victory over the San Francisco Giants. Aaron Judge couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat in McCovey Cove, but it didn't really matter. Yankees scored 5 in the second en route to that 7-0 victory. Max Fried was dealing on the mound. One of my favorite pitchers to watch. It was Clayton Kershaw for many years, and you look at Max Fried, left-handed, skinny guy, unbelievable curveball. They do it, very similar. He's been as good as advertised since signing up with the Yankees to start the 2025 season. He's a beast. That dude's an absolute monster. So they're going to be tough in the AL East. There's going to be a dogfight in that division, and the Rays have to start fast. I mentioned this the last couple of days. You're starting the first 3 series on the road. If you're coming back to this homestand next week, you better not be 2-9 in those 11 games, because that is going to be awfully rough. But listen, we'll get into an opportunity where the Rays have a chance to show themselves, and they'll do that in St. Louis against the Cardinals. What shoes am I wearing today? Look at DT. You are all over it. White shoes today with the silver and the tassels. White with silver. Why does it look like that? White, silver tassels with the red bottoms. You know how we roll, buddy. You know how we roll here on the program. Anyone other than the Dodgers, our guy Greg DeCruz, go Jays, go. Yeah, I think not enough people are talking about the defending American League champions, the Toronto Blue Jays. You go out and get Dylan Cease. Max Scherzer comes back, and I know you lose Bo Bichette, but you did the majority of that run without him last year, and you still, I tell you what, I'm not betting against the Toronto Blue Jays. They've earned it. They proved themselves last year, so they were a team that you were waiting, right? You're got this like spectrum notice from the Rays. We like to form your program starting on March 26th. Miami Marlins and Tampa Bay Rays games will now air on the MLB Miami Marlins and MLB Tampa Bay Rays channel instead of FanDuel Sports Florida and FanDuel Sports Sun. So there you go. I have Spectrum for this reason, to be able to watch these games. So MLB Tampa Bay Rays channel. Interesting. Okay. Again, follow me on all social media platforms at JRecher. Kill that like button if you can, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter/X. All right. So I wanted to talk to the announcement yesterday about Victor Hedman. And if you missed it, it's pretty sad. I mean, when you think about it, because you really want Victor Hedman to be okay. But the Lightning posted this at 3:15 yesterday. And I quote, "The Tampa Bay Lightning announced today that defenseman Victor Hedman will be taking a temporary leave of absence from the team for personal reasons. No further details will be shared, and the team asks that his privacy be respected at this time." Now, we know that Victor Hedman left that game in Vancouver, and then he was out for the last couple of games. And the Lightning kept saying that it was an illness. So you definitely don't want to poke and prod, and you kind of want to give, Hetty his grace, and I think that's what a lot of the media members have been doing. But in that last game on Tuesday, before the matchup against the Wild, John Cooper spoke at 6:00, and when he was pressed further about Victor Hedman, and he just said he was out tonight. He's not playing tonight. And he wasn't very transparent when it came to people saying, he's day to day, he's week to week, and he'll kind of play it off. But in this situation, it was very vague. It was very vague. And now we see the announcement just a day later that he's not going to be with the team for the foreseeable future. Now, I know a lot of people have asked about the Victor Hedman thing. What do you think it is? Is it something with his family? And, you try to not speculate, because that's what happens in situations like this when the teams aren't very transparent about what's going on. And we saw John Cooper leave the team and miss a game earlier this year. And then we come to find out that his father's passed away. And, you try to put two and two together. But this is not the time for investigative journalism. This is not the time to try to find out what's going on with Victor Hedman. If it's something this serious for the captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning to step away from the team as they're trying to push for a playoff spot, it's obviously pretty serious. And again, I don't want to speculate what it is, but I just want to put some context to this entire situation when it comes to Victor Hedman. This is a guy that is one of the most respected athletes in the history of Tampa Bay sports and one of the most respected players currently in the National Hockey League. But what he's gone through in the last 12 months, it's been truly remarkable that he's been able to kind of just sustain and be able to persevere through all of it. Because if you look at the entire timeline, it's not been easy for him. I mean, you think about it, he hurts his elbow and he's out for a little while, and then he comes back and he only plays a couple of games before the team announces that he has to undergo surgery. And the big question is he going to be ready for the Olympics? And I remember Mike Zeisberger from NHL.com being down here from Toronto and asking him about the Olympics. And it meant the world to Hetty. I mean, it meant the world to him to be able to represent his country. So just the arduous rehab that he underwent to be able to come back and be ready for Olympic competition, it couldn't have been easy. To make matters worse, after getting hurt, coming back, getting surgery, and then coming back, playing a couple of games, being available for the Stadium Series, he didn't want to miss that. He plays in the Olympics for Team Sweden, and then, unfortunately for him, gets injured during the pregame warmups before the game against Team USA. You've been waiting your entire life. Forget about your career. You've been waiting your entire life to represent your country. You get in and you get in a matchup, you get in a contest against what ended up being the gold medal winners, and you have to sit on the bench and watch as your team loses a heartbreaker in overtime. Hetty comes back after that, and he's clearly not 100%. And he knows that. He knows that better than anybody. And he's not, the team's trying to be smart with his playing time. They're playing 7 defensemen at times. They're trying to put him with different guys. They put him with Eric Chernak, which hasn't worked in the past, but they're trying to do what's best for Victor Hedman because he's earned it. Nobody deserves anything in this world. You've earned it. This is a Conn Smythe winner, a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. This is the captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Part of the reason why this team has been able to shift from such a poignant leader with Steven Stamkos, who a lot of people at the time thought may be the best leader in all of sports. But the way that this team's been able to kind of transform itself is because you hand the seat to another guy that is a captain in Victor Hedman. He comes back. He's not playing all that well. He knows that. He sees that when he's out of the lineup that the team's playing better without him. That's got to be wearing on you. And let's not forget, Victor Hedman, what else he's gone through on the personal side. A huge contributor to the Humane Society here in the Tampa Bay area, and how popular his dog Harry was. And Harry crossed the Rainbow Bridge earlier this year. And if you have a dog, how that death impacts your family. It's not just you. It's not just your wife. It's your kids. Like, it's everybody. So again, I don't want to speculate what's going on with Victor Hedman. I don't know if it has anything to do with what I just said. But he's gone through a lot in this last calendar year. And I just hope that whatever he's going through, that he comes out of it on the other side healthy, mentally and physically. Because he's, again, one of the most respected athletes that we've ever had in the Tampa Bay area. He's always been great to me and everybody here and all of our media. And he's just an all-around great dude. And he's been going through it. He's been going through this year. And I don't know if it has anything to do with that. It's hard to speculate in a awkward situation like this. But what we do know is that he's been through a lot. And please join me in sending your thoughts and your prayers to Hetty and his entire family, that they get through this tough time and that he can find a way to get back to this team and help them try to win a Stanley Cup. Do I think he returns this season? Maybe. Do I think his career is done with the Tampa Bay Lightning? Not a chance. Not a chance. Because what will happen eventually is that this season will be over. Hopefully after a long postseason run that ends with the Stanley Cup. But when this season is over, Victor Hedman's going to be able to go home. He's going to be able to go back to Sweden. He's going to be able to recharge the batteries. He's going to be able to refresh with his family. And then he's going to come back for at least these next 3 years and get back to being one of the best defensemen in the league. You guys know, you've been watching this guy for a long time. This isn't him. This isn't him. That's not Victor Hedman. So again, thoughts and prayers go out to Hetty and his entire family. The big Swede, the captain, we're behind you, bro. Take all the time you need. I was having this discussion with Ian yesterday during the Beckles and Recher show. We tend to forget sometimes when it comes to these professional athletes because you see them on TV and because they, get paid millions of dollars and they do these superhuman things playing a game that we all grew up playing and loving. But you forget at the end of the day that they're human. They're human beings. And they go through terrible things and difficult things, just like everybody. So have some grace when it comes to the Victor Hedman situation. And again, keep him in your thoughts. If you're a religious person, keep him in your prayers. Whatever we can do to send him good vibes and well wishes so he can be back with his team soon, because we know it's, he's a hockey player, man. He's a future Hall of Famer. Like he's the man. And the team is going to rally around his absence and try to do what they can to put their best foot forward with him not being there. I wanted to play the interview with Eric Chernak that I got from earlier today. And it wasn't just him talking about Victor Hedman, but it was also his goal the other night. But, Cherney is a guy that's really stepped in and taken a leadership role with this team. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take Chernak and Moser and McDonough and all these different guys with a guy like Victor Hedman being out. And you watch how Eric Chernak has kind of grown before our eyes. He'll be ready. I truly believe that, to fill some of that leadership void starting tonight against the Kraken. So here is Eric Chernak after morning skate today. Please hold.
Tonight to keep building on this homestand.
Well, I think we've seen this team, when we're on the road trip, we just have to pressure them, have a good forecheck, skate, be smart with the puck, and I think if you're gonna manage those things, we'll be in a good shape.
You gonna break any cameras tonight?
Hopefully, yeah, that would be nice. 2 in a row, yeah, that would be unreal. But I'm just hoping for a good game, so we can get a W, get a point, and keep moving to the next one.
Yesterday was John Cooper was hired 13 years ago yesterday. Can you just speak to what he's done for you in your career?
Unbelievable, I don't think we can ask for a better coach in this organization. He done so much for the organization and for the players, I can tell for myself, he helped me a lot since I got to the league, over the years. You see him pretty much every day in your life, besides the off season. So he has a big impact on everybody, and as a player and as a person also.
Eric, can you just talk about the resiliency of this team? I mean, you guys have had to face a lot between injuries, the Olympic break, now Victor taking a leave. Just how do you guys all come together in these moments?
Yeah, obviously it wasn't an easy year so far. We were going through some adversity. A couple of hurt guys. Not a great start in the season, but I think we overcome every single kind of possible little small things in a way, and so far it's been amazing, right? We're looking forward for the last couple of games of the season, and we just have to be on top of our games so we can be prepared for the playoffs.
Our guy Eric Chernak. And it was funny because Lightning PR went up to him after and was like, how'd I do? It's like, yeah, because he knew, like, that's part of being a professional, being able to answer some of the tough questions. And shout out to our guy Evan Klosky from Channel 10. The way you frame those, that's a professional right there. Our guy Evan Klosky. Listen, in situations like this, what are the guys going to say? Honestly, what are they going to say? Hey, what do you know about, like, we're not going to go in there as a media contingent and go, hey, what do you know about Victor? Tell us. Like, it's just, sometimes you have to have some modicum of professionalism and couth and just understanding where you're at, right? Is the most important thing finding out what's exactly going on with Victor Hedman? No, it does not take precedent over what's going on with him. Sorry. And some people may think that's bad journalism. I don't give a shit if you call me a bad journalism. I'd rather be a good person than a good journalist. Sorry. I'm not going to sacrifice what I think is the right thing to do as a human being just for my job. Ever. I don't give two shits who thinks otherwise. Sorry. I'll do my job. I'll ask tough questions. But I'm not going to get into a situation where I'm compromising myself as a human being. And there's not a lot of people are like that. There's too many people that don't care. I'm just doing it in the vein of journalism. I'm like, that's bullshit. People don't like you. People don't respect you for shit like that. That's fine. And I got to tell you, like, I sat down next to JJ Moser and nobody actually went up to him. I thought so. He's like, why is everybody in? They were talking to Nick Paul. And I talk to Mo all the time. Right. And I'm like, hey, be ready because everybody's gonna coming over. He's like, why? And he's like, I told him, I said, they'll probably ask about Victor Hedman. And he goes, oh. And I go, yeah, man, like that's the great part about living in Tampa. It's not just me, guys. It's the Tampa media, right? There's an integrity there. It's like, we understand, like, we're going to get you the good stories. That's why I say support local. Tampa Bay Times with Ed Encina, Lightning Insider, the Hockey News, everybody, Spectrum, Scripps, everybody, support our local crew. But we're not going to go over the line. We're not going to make people feel like shit. And that's why if anybody ever tells you and asks you about the situation with a guy like Nikita Kucherov, they need to stop pestering him. Nobody pesters Nikita Kucherov. Nobody really pesters anybody here in the Tampa Bay area. We do our jobs and we move on. This isn't Philly. This isn't some of these other cities where it's like, we don't care if we're public enemy number one. No, we ask the tough questions too. I'm one of those people, but we're also going to have, again, you know, if you ask questions and you have a good rapport with the teams, you're going to get great stories. You think if Ed Encina is a jerk, he's going to get the story that he got on Darren Radish and his dad before he passed away? Right? Like, think about things like that. Eric Erlinson wrote an incredible story about Charles Edouard Destu in the beginning. You don't get stories like that if you're a pain in the ass. And you guys notice, like, think about this kind of stuff, right? When you're talking about sports media and you're listening about sports media and the way people cover sports and the way that just the way people talk about sports, whether it's TV, whether it's radio, whether it's national, whether it's local, just listen to what I have to say. You can always tell the people that never go into the locker room. You can always tell people that have a poor standing amongst their other media members by the way that they talk about the sports and the way that they talk about the players and they talk about the coaches and the way they talk about the fans. You talk shit about these people because you're not in front of them. I don't talk shit. I speak the truth. When I said that Mikhail Sergachev is here and Brian McDonough is not, I went into the Lightning locker room the next day, and John Cooper wanted to know what that was about. And I told him, you guys lost 5-0 to St. Louis, in St. Louis, and Ryan O'Reilly's not there. Coop said, fair enough. Just don't tell anybody not to go to the games. Fair enough, my guy. Fair enough. And I just said, I can't watch this team right now. I didn't say it wasn't going. I was like, I can't watch this team right now. He's like, just don't tell fans not to go to the game. I said, fair enough, my guy. But I'm going to support the Lightning. But I'm not going to sit here and not call a spade a spade. I've been saying for the last 2 weeks what's going on with Victor Hedman. What's going on with Victor Hedman? We obviously know something's wrong. Think about that. I'm excited for the race. And shout out to Brian Wiles, $5 super chat, supporting from Buffalo, New York. Go Bolts. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you, buddy. I hope you're staying warm up there. I'm actually going to be near there. I'm going to be up in Rochester, I think it looks like, in October for the Ryan Callahan Foundation. I emceed the one here. They want me to MC the one up in Rochester. I went to college in Oswego, brother, so I know how it is up there. So I appreciate you. And I've grown an affinity for Buffalo, and maybe it's because our guy Dan Geary, the security guard here at Benchmark International Arena, and because I went to college up in Oswego, I want Buffalo to do well. Not against our teams, right? But I want to see the Bills win the Super Bowl. I do at some point. You know, these teams that go through all the shit, man, and you got to be able to come out the other side. Like, I want to see them have their moment in the sun. I grew up a Yankee fan, bro. I have enough championships to last a lifetime. I'd like to see the Knicks win one, please, before I leave. But, man, I want to, like, this Sabres, too. Just don't beat the Lightning. You ain't messing with the Lightning. But the Bills, my guy Dan Geary, I love you, pal. Rays in action today, and I wanted to go over we got the roster. We know Hunter Fiducia and Nick Fortes are going to be the catchers. Jonathan Aranda at first. Richie Palacios playing second, obviously, with Gavin Lux being out. We got Carson Williams at short, Junior Caminero at third. This team right now is going to have to play to their strengths. And they have to give they have to give the fans a reason to be optimistic. And you guys know that. You guys know that. Sorry, Eddie. I know you're a Miami fan. This is a prove it type year for the Rays. And I know a lot of people may not want to hear that because you're an optimistic Tampa Bay baseball fan. And like, I want to see them do well. I think it's better for everybody, right? But if you think that this isn't a prove it type year for the Tampa Bay Rays, you're just not paying attention. There's a lot of questions about this team. There's a lot of questions about this franchise and this organization. And if you look at pundits around the world, Tampa Bay used to be one of those like sexy picks to be able to win the division or make a wild card. Like I've looked at all of them. I don't know if I've seen one person pick the Rays make the playoffs. Not one. And do you blame them? Like, bro, I don't think so. I don't blame them. But for all those people that thought, oh, new owners, things are going to change immediately. They're going to double the payroll. We're not seeing that. And this is a lot to put on your offense. But this team is only going to go as far as their top offensive players take them. So you need Junior Caminero to have an MVP type season. You need Jonathan Arandas to stay healthy and to hit 30 home runs. You need Yandy Diaz to not have a slow start, which he's had the last couple of years. It's amazing how good Yandy gets as the year goes on because he has these slow starts. Remember a couple of years ago, it was him and Arozarena. But last year, again, another slow start, and he finds his way, and he just keeps hitting and hitting and hitting. He has to start fast. Aranda, Yandy, Caminero. Those are the three guys right there. And you have to be able to win games different ways. Pitching and defense. And Chandler Simpson's going to have to seal a couple of games with his legs. Like, you are going to need so many things to come together for this team to be able to compete. I don't think that's an opinion. I think it's fact. And I don't think it's being pessimistic. I think guys really need to show what they're all about. Drew Rasmussen is clearly one of the most underrated pitchers in all of baseball. That's no doubt in my mind. He gets the ball on opening day today. But we know Ryan Papio's hurt. And what are we getting from Shane McClanahan? Shane McClanahan started the All-Star game in LA for the AL. He was the representative in a lot of minds, the best pitcher in the American League at that time. And we haven't seen him pitch in years because of the injuries. What are we going to get from Shane McClanahan? We don't know. What are we going to get from the veterans and Steven Matz and Nick Martinez, right? Nick, look, probably one of the worst pitchers in all of baseball in spring training. Now, does that mean much? We'll see. We'll see. But, and I wanted to get to this. Mugiwara Cook. Is that how you say it? Mugiwara Cook. I like that. Or Mujiwara. I like that. Do we see a change in management and philosophy if we don't make the playoffs this season? There aren't many people that bring up Kevin Cash and Eric Neander and Kyle Snyder and the job they've done the last 2 years. Everybody just keeps saying that Kevin Cash is the best manager in baseball and Kyle Snyder is the best pitching coach in all of baseball. And Eric Neander is the best GM in all of baseball. And how do we judge that? Judge it by success. The last couple of years, the Rays have not had much success. So when I look at this situation, if the Rays don't make the playoffs again, you have to start asking questions. People are living in the past. You're living in 2022 and you're living in 2023. This is 2026. I get it. I understand the deficiencies. I understand what they have to deal with as a franchise that doesn't put a whole lot of money in the payroll. And I understand being displaced last year because of the storms and playing your games at Steinbrenner Field instead of Tropicana Field. I get all that. But this has been a team that's lauded themselves for many, many years of doing the most with the least. And we haven't seen that the last couple of years. And they're not the only team that doesn't put a huge payroll together, and they've struggled to make the playoffs. Don't look at Cleveland. Go look at Oakland. Like, you look at those type of things, the Rays need to step their game up. And that goes for everybody. And I'm surprised. Again, they're lucky. They're lucky that this is the market that they're in, because I think they should be doing a better job. Everybody. All right. It's 12:30 on a Thursday. You know what that means. Our favorite segment of the week. It's our good pal, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Baseball season's back around the corner. I think I may have asked you this in the past. Who did you root for growing up?
Well, I've rooted growing up. Most people in Puerto Rico, I think, are Yankee fans, but I became a Cubs fan when I went to medical school in Chicago. So I really love following the Cubs now.
There you go, the Cubbies, man, and a lot of people are picking them to win the NL Central. Getting Alex Bregman was pretty big. So I always think baseball is better when a team like the Chicago Cubs are good. I always think that. Like I like to see upsets, and I like to see different teams and different faces in there. But I also like to see the blue bloods in there too, Doc. Right? Because it's good to see them in there. They're long-term fan bases, and then when a team like the Yankees or the Dodgers are in there and they get toppled, like that's great too.
Yeah. It's good to see sometimes these teams that are so big. They have all the money, they got all the players. It's good to see sometimes some of the other teams getting the mix and getting those playoffs and make a run at it. But the Cubs, are such a historical franchise that I think anytime the Cubs make the playoffs is great for baseball.
Let's start with the Rays. We know that Ryan Pepio is out, and I got a chance to talk to him the other day, and he says, Jay, it's not too serious. I'm not going to be out for very long, but he's dealing with a little bit of a hip injury, Doc, isn't he?
Yeah, so he's been pushing the 15-day injured list because of right hip inflammation. My thinking of that is probably a little bit of bursitis around the hip or irritation, probably because of the pitching motion that comes with it. He was scheduled to have an injection done yesterday. So I'm thinking it's going to be a steroid injection around the bursa that was inflamed, and then return back to pitching sometime in mid-April. So they're probably just giving him a little bit of a few weeks off just to let it rest up, let the bursa get better, let the hip get better, and let the injection do the work.
I played a little softball last night, Doc. I'm in pretty good shape. I'm doing okay. I'm walking okay. My ankle's still bothering me, but I'm all right. Inflammation.
No hamstring injury?
No hamstring injuries. I stretch, man. I stretch as my, I know I got to take care of it. Body is a temple, that is for sure. And then Taylor Walls, shortstop for the Rays. And we're wondering if Carson Williams was going to get a chance, but Taylor Walls picked up an injury a couple of weeks ago. What do we know about the length of his injury and how long he could be out?
So right oblique strain. They also calling it rib tip syndrome. So it's basically an oblique strain, probably a little lower. Rib tip, because usually the lower two ribs, 11 and 12 rib, are floating ribs, and the muscles really attach around those two rib areas, so they're very prone to having the pain right around those areas. The rest of your ribs attach to your sternum in the front of your chest. So similar injury. We talked about Springer last time in the World Series having the similar injury. So usually we talked about 3 to 4 weeks recovery time for this type of injury. That the average length is anywhere between 3 to 6 weeks. But usually about 3 to 4 weeks, usually when you see people getting back to playing from this type of injury in their oblique strain.
Doc, I wanted to ask you about Victor Hedman. He's out due to personal reasons. But from what we do know, he dealt with the elbow injury last year, earlier this year, and then he had, from what a lot of people thought was a groin injury, keeping him out of the Olympic game, and he just doesn't look 100%. But what I want to ask you about, the mental health aspect of it, because, again, I don't want to speculate about what's going on with Victor Hedman, but I think about what this guy has been through this year, and the rehab of coming back from the elbow injury, getting hurt, and then undergoing surgery, and then trying to make it back for the Olympics, and then getting hurt at the Olympics. Like, when you're talking to these professional athletes and these guys sustain like an injury back to back, and even if it's kind of not related, what is your role as the physician there to be able to help him mentally? Because I think this is something that was very taboo back in the day, but now we understand. Like, Bucky Irving spoke about that with the Buccaneers. He spoke about the mental challenges it was for him to not play. What is your role in that to try to help these guys? Because we know the mental rehabilitation is almost as important, if not more important, than the physical. Yeah.
So as a team physician, you got to rely on a team of people helping you out. So, most of us are in sports medicine or orthopedics. So we are really tuned to the injury itself, but not the mental health aspects of it. So from my medical side, one is reassuring the athlete that the injury is okay. You are in the timeline, you're in the time frame that the injury itself is not an issue. You will do fine. You have recovered. You can see how you're doing. But then on the other side, I got to recruit other health professionals to help me out, whether it's a sports psychologist or a sports psychiatrist, to help me out with now the mental health aspects of coming back from the injury and performing again at a higher level without putting behind you basically the fact that you were hurt, and putting behind you, most importantly, the fear of getting re-injured. And I think that's the biggest obstacle that most athletes face, is just the fear of, if I do this again, am I going to get hurt again? So I may not go as hard, I may not play as intense as I did before, because I have the fear of getting hurt again and now having a major injury that now may even be a jeopardy for my career. And getting the athlete over that hurdle of the fear of re-injury, as much as the recovery from the injury that you have, is just as important.
Doc, is that something that's changed? Because, like, as I just alluded to, it used to be taboo to talk about sports psychology and sports psychiatry. Is that something throughout your career that you've seen more teams be open and more athletes be open to?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's become a major aspect of professional sports, and most teams right now employ some sort of sports psychologist or sports psychiatrist to help teams out just like they employ chiropractors or osteopaths to help with a lot of manipulation and other aspects of the musculoskeletal recovery. I think having a mental health professional as part of your team is very important, because it becomes a big hurdle to the athlete to go back. And whether before we didn't talk about it, we just, well, you're fine, the injury's okay, why can you go back and playing? How come you're in a rut now? You're not playing as well as you did before. We've come to realize that a lot of it had to do with the mental health issues that the athletes were facing in overcoming the injury, overcoming the fear of re-injury, overcoming the fear of not being able to perform at the same level. So it's a very important aspect of sports medicine and sports recovery now, to recruit those mental health professionals and be able to address that too, in the recovery of the athlete and the return to sports.
Is there a difference between these athletes? And I know it's individually, obviously you're dealing with your injuries, but is there a different, I guess, plan of attack when it's a team sport versus an individual sport? Because I just think about, like, we'll talk about Novak Djokovic in a second. And I mentioned this yesterday as a guy that was the captain of his teams. When I played tennis in junior high, it was like it was like, if I don't figure this out, I'm going to lose. Right. For baseball, if you had a bad day, it was just like, all right, well, I'm not doing my thing, but I can be a good teammate, right? And maybe it's just not my day, and I can just make sure that I'm part of the solution rather than the problem. I'll go do it, or I'll be a good teammate in a different way. In tennis, it was completely different. It was like, Jay, if you don't kick yourself in the butt, you're going to get your butt kicked. So is it different in a team and as well as versus an individual sport?
I certainly believe so. I mean, in a team sport, no, it's not just you. You also got the support of your teammates who are also helping you out, helping you through. Maybe they've gone through a similar injury. Maybe they've gone through a similar problem, and they're also helping you overcome those mental barriers of getting back into the game. And as you said, there are other players that may pick up a little bit of the slack that you're not getting there. When you're in an individual sport and it's all about you, there's added pressure to it, because if you don't perform, you're letting everything down. There's no one else to look over your shoulder. It's you. And I think individual teams like golf, tennis, I think about Lindsey Vonn and the downhill skiing. Those are a lot of pressure moments, and it's all on you. There's nobody else you can blame about it. There's no other team. The teams didn't pick up their slack. So there's a lot more pressure when it's an individual athlete overcoming injury, because there's no one else to blame. Everything else is on your shoulder. The performance is on you. And there's an expectation that if you were an elite athlete in your sport, you're going to be able to get back there again. I mean, we look at Tiger Woods, who won all these titles, won the green shirts, has all these championships. And now seeing him struggle with all the injuries. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of added pressure on himself, because he knew how he was able to perform, how he dominated the game. So it's a lot more pressure now that he's not able to perform at that level, questioning yourself, should I still be there? Should I still be doing this? Or when is it time for me to hang it up?
I wanted to ask you this too, Doc, because people have asked me, because I've interacted with so many athletes now. It's been 12 years. There is a difference, even within professional athletes, between the good and the great, right? Like I remember being here at 7:00 one morning, and Sidney Crosby was here for the Penguins 5 hours before their morning skate. And I'm like, what is he doing? And he was sharpening his own skates. He was taping up his own stick. And then I watched Nikita Kucherov, and everybody else could be doing something. And he's just like so laser focused. Have you noticed that? Like, we know professional athletes are a different breed. They're different
Right.
than the normal human beings. But do you notice kind of the 1% of the 1% and what it takes for them to be successful? Because I've seen it, and that's a different type of mental strength that I don't think even other professional athletes may understand, and certainly ham and eggers that just watch the sport for fun wouldn't understand.
Yeah. No, there's a huge difference. I mean, there, even within professional sports, there's different levels of, I mean, not just physical ability, but mental toughness, preparation, dedication. There are people that are really dedicated to their sport, and that's their focus, but then also they're blessed with the physical ability, the mental toughness, and they're gifted to play the sport. So those are really special players, and you can actually tell who they are the minute you meet them, just from the interactions, talking to them, how they view the sport, how they approach the sport, how they study film, how they study their opponents, how they study the game. So they're not just an athlete, they're just an expert in their field when it comes to how to perform, how to do things differently. And then they make it in, they also apply it to themselves in such a way that they're the first one to get to practice, they're the last one to leave, they're the ones working on all deficiencies that they have. If they picked up that they have a certain deficiency in some of their skills, they're going to work on that skill and they're going to make it the best. And then they even surpass everyone else in that sense. So there are certainly some players that I think have that mental and physical gift, but also there are players that may not have the mental or physical gift, but their dedication takes them to that next level. So it's not just about genetics. It's not all about how good you are or who your parents were, but I think a lot of it also has to do with your work ethic and the dedication that you have for the sport and your understanding of what the sport is about.
I love that, Doc. Yeah, it's a great thing. And I think about Nikita Kucherov. He's on a different planet. He really is. He's just a different type of guy. And you see it. You got season tickets to this place.
Absolutely.
I want to ask you about skill specific. We've heard this. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and you know this from your background as well. We see in other countries where these kids go to these academies and they focus on one sport. There's a couple of baseball ones here in Tampa now, but you see it in soccer, especially in Europe. These guys, they go out and like, what do you think about that? Because we also think here in the States, it's good, like an Aaron Judge, play multiple sports. So where do you kind of go in that balance of like being sports specific versus the versatility of being able to do more than one sport?
I mean, there's a lot of studies that have been done in pediatrics and in young athletes. And certainly it's been proven over and over again that athletes who are able to play multiple sports are better at their sport because they are able to bring skills from the other sports into their own sports. There also is a lot of evidence about decreasing burnout, decreasing injuries. So that you factor that in also. So there's many advantages to playing multiple sports. I don't think there is a lot of evidence that shows that a kid that plays a single sport is much better than one that plays that sport primarily, but has other sports that they can bring their skills from to get better. There may be exceptions to the rule. I mean, there are players that from a very young age, you can tell they're going to be a basketball player. You can tell they're going to be a soccer player. And then you're just honing on those skills and developing them. But I think you have to be very careful not to burn out the player. If the player has other interests or wants to pursue other things, allow them to do that, because I think that's just going to make them better. And it's going to prevent them from burning out on their sport and then maybe even not liking their sport. A love-hate relationship with your sport is never good. So I think as long as the player has that love for their sport, but if they want to try something else, allow them to do so. Because I think if they have a love for one particular sport, they're always going to migrate back to their one sport and continue to be better at it. And if you can see the dedication and you can see everything that they put into it to be better and get better, But you just got to be mindful. I mean, kids are kids. They're not little professional athletes. You have to have them have fun also while they're playing their sport and while they're developing their skills, and not treat them in such a way that all you're thinking is about their future. Is this going to be a pro player? Is this going to be a college player? Just allow them to be kids, allow them to have fun. But at the same time, if they have the skill sets to develop it, yes, absolutely. I mean, continue to grow those skills, but be very leery about the consequences of pushing too hard.
How about Novak Djokovic, Doc? He pulled out of the Miami Open. What do we know about him?
Right. So Novak withdrew because of a right shoulder injury. This happened because of his push in the Indian Wells tournament, so he had to pull out of the Miami Open. I think he's looking more at the Monte Carlo Masters as his return time, which is in about early April. He worked really hard in Indian Wells, and if you play tennis, so means serving and all the motions, they affect really a lot of the shoulder. So eventually, if you overwork things, rotator cuff can become tender. You can have tendinitis. You can develop some bursitis, something we call impingement syndrome. So with that, you mostly need rest to let it heal. If it had been anything like a labral injury or a labral problem, I think he would have been taking even more time off, or they would have been a little more clear with this type of injury. With it being, I'm going to pull out of this, but I'm going to be back in a few weeks. I think it's more of a overuse, tendinitis, bursitis, and it's just going to take a little bit of time for things to cool off, maybe in a little bit of an injection rehabilitation, and he should be fine to come back sometime in the next month or so.
I got a kid that I coach. His name's Vlad. He's got little league shoulder. They said he's got to be out for 3-4 months. I know we kind of talked about this before, but for people just tuning in for the first time, what is little league shoulder, and what can these kids do to kind of, how long does it take? Because I had one kid have little league shoulder. The doctor said he's going to be out for 6 months, and he couldn't swing. He couldn't do anything. Now he's swinging again. He feels better, and the doctor said he can swing. He can't throw yet, but this is 2 months later. What do we know about little league shoulder and when guys can return from it?
So as opposed to, say, what I was saying in Djokovic, which is tendinitis bursitis, the little league shoulder is actually a bone problem. It's a growth plate issue on the bone. So the ball, basically, of the shoulder, it has a growth plate that it attaches then to basically the shaft. And under the stress of the constant rotation of the arm for throwing, the ball starts shifting and starts moving, and the growth plate starts suffering and starts being painful. You have to be very careful when you're taking care of these things, because you don't want to stunt the growth of the growth plate. You don't want the growth plate to get hurt to a point where it just stops growing, and now you're going to have a big issue with the shoulder. So it's a fracture, basically, of the shoulder, what you're dealing with. So you have to let the growth plate heal. You have to let the pain go away, and that's a process that takes months. Most of the time is usually we keep the player from doing any throwing activity until the pain is completely gone, which could be 6 to 8 weeks. Then after that, we try maybe a little bit of a throwing program to see if they're able to come back. If there's any pain, you could shut them down again. So basically, until they're completely pain-free and able to throw without any pain, that's only safe for them to go back. And that period of time could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending on the recovery process, depending on the age, depending on the degree of injury that you have. A lot of times when we see these injuries, the growth plate has shifted significantly, and now we're looking at a longer period of time for recovery before they go in. But the main thing here is the bone and the growth plate when you're looking at little league shoulder.
We spoke about guys playing different positions. Patrick Mahomes, when he plays quarterback, you can tell he played baseball growing up. He throws the ball sidearm like a shortstop. What do we know about Patrick Mahomes? We think he'll be ready for week 1, you think?
He could. He tore his ACL. He tore his lateral collateral ligament. He had surgery back in December. So most of the recovery usually for this type of injury is 9 to 12 months. So you're looking in the short side, 9 months will be September. So will he be ready for early in the season? Yeah, it's a possibility, but I mean, not many people make that 9-month mark, and usually we're looking at the 11 to 12-month mark, which would make him more return maybe halfway through the season. Now, he did show, I think, a workout video online, dropping back and throwing, continuing his rehab. I mean, that puts him, to me, right on track as to the rehabilitation process, because right now he would be at what we would call the return to sports activity phase, or the late transitional phase of recovery, which is when you start introducing some motion. You may start introducing a little sports-specific type of exercise, but not full, complete sport-related exercise. So you start doing some weight bearing, some cutting, some movement, some running. So he looks to me to be on track on his recovery process, which right now we're about 3-4 months into the recovery process. Whether he's back and ready in 9 months in September for the beginning of the season, it's happened before. There's been players that have been able to accomplish that. I'm pretty sure he's dedicated, has a great team around him. So he has all the resources available to him to be able to make that recovery process 9 months, as opposed to more of the 10 to 12 months type time frame.
And the Yankees win 7-0 last night, and they don't even have Garrett Cole back yet, but it looks like he's right on track. It could have been 60-day IL, but they put him on the 15-day IL.
Right.
You know, I know we spoke about it a couple weeks ago after he had his first start in spring training. What do we know? What's the update on Garrett Cole?
So I think Garrett is right. It's right on track. I think that the fact is that because he had the UCL repair with internal bracing we talked about, which is basically repairing the torn ligament, and then they put this collagen dip tape, biologically enhanced tape over the ligament for reinforcement, improves the recovery as opposed to reconstruction. So when it comes to return to play, it's a lot shorter time, usually, as I said, 7 versus 10 months, one versus the other. So, and the fact that he did really well in his outing, in the 1 inning he pitched, he looked really good. His speed was there, no issues. I think he's right on track to make the debut probably sometime in May. I think they were targeting late April. I think it's going to be sometime in late April, early May for him to come back. But it's just that the new recovery or the new procedure that is being done offers such advantages in recovery that I think you're going to continue to see this, where players have this type of procedure for their UCL and they're able to return a little sooner to competition.
How physically exceptional is it to see what Shohei Ohtani does on the baseball field, Doc?
Oh, I mean, he's one of those 1% of the 1%, as you mentioned before. I mean, the guy, what can't the guy do on the field? I mean, he's throwing, he's batting, his speed. I mean, he's gifted with a great physical and genetics, plus the talent. And I'm pretty sure he worked really hard at being the player he is right now. But I mean, you know, when it comes to pitching and throwing, you have to have certain gifts. You have to have certain way of the rotation, the transfer of motion, the transfer of force from the ground up, plus the physical strength that goes along with that. So not every baseball player can be a pitcher. And he's not only can be a great pitcher, but he has the ability to hit the ball well, hit the ball far. And so he's one of those 1 in a million players.
Have you seen the training that Yoshinobu Yamamoto does with throwing a javelin?
I saw a video of it, so yeah. I think that's interesting that he's translated. And again, we talk about how to translate something that you do in one sport to another sport. He's translated the mechanics of javelin throwing to being able to get better motion and better rotation and even better transfer of force from, again, ground up to be able to have better throws in baseball. So that's a great example how you can translate the skills of one sport to another sport to improve your set of skills in the baseball arena.
Yeah, it sounds like Mookie Betts is actually doing it too to work on his throwing, which is awesome. And then finally, I want to end on Moses Moody, man. That was a tough injury to see from the Warriors, and you don't see injuries like that in the NBA all that often. But man, that was a tough one to see. So
it's interesting that you brought this one up. My son actually texted me the day after the injury. He goes, "Dad, have you seen the video? Have you seen the injury?" I'm like, "Well, let me take a look at it because I'm pretty sure I'll talk about it on Thursday." So I started looking at the video, and initially when I first looked at the video, I'm thinking, well, he tore his ACL when he planted to do his 2 steps. But then I looked at it again, and it was not on the 2-step where he injured himself, but then in the next plant is when actually the injury happens, and he goes to take off for the dunk, and he clutches the leg, goes to the ground. And if you slow the video down and are able to capture what his knee looked like at the moment, you see a deformity at the knee. And that's when I realized, well, wait a minute, what am I looking at here? And what happened was when he planted to take off, he tore his patellar tendon. So I have the model right here. So basically, this is the knee. So this is the femur, the upper leg. This is your tibia, and this is your patella sitting right here with the tendon. So basically, he tore this right here. So what happened was this whole thing is now gone. So when he's on the ground, you actually end up seeing kind of this picture where you see the actual bones without the kneecap in front of it, because the kneecap is actually sitting way up here now on the leg. So pretty significant injury to the knee, because the extensor mechanism is completely gone. Because with the kneecap basically off and the patellar tendon torn, your quadriceps can't really do anything because the attachment is completely lost. So there's complete loss of power. Now, the recovery from this is actually not bad. 9 to 12 months recovery process. What they will do is they will reattach the patellar tendon, they'll replace it. They'll fix it and repair it. They'll put some heavy sutures through it, allow the ligament to heal up, and he would be fine. Most athletes recover real well from this type of injury and return to sports. Again, recovery time is usually about 9 to 12 months. So he should be fine to come back for next season.
Good stuff, Doc. As always, yeah, when I saw that injury, and I'm like, there you go. There's one for Doc. That's every single time we see that. Your son's doing the same thing. That's one for Doc. Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, our Evara Health Injury Report, always making our show a whole heck of a lot better every Thursday at 12:30. Doc, you're the man, buddy. Thank you so much for everything, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Good stuff, man. The Doc, he is the man. We love that guy. Unbelievable. Yes. Just touching on a little bit of everything. I love the mental health stuff because that's a huge part of it. It really is. Evara Health, everahealth.org. Again, 17 different locations in Pinellas County. I can't say enough nice things about Evara Health. I really can't. It's absolutely incredible. The people that work there are just like him. So nice, down to earth. And this is the new wave of healthcare. Sliding scale for the uninsured. They take all kinds of insurance. They're just top-notch. Top-notch. The Evara Health Institute, very similar to the broadcasting school that I went to. You can get that hands-on training and they go right across the street. And and then you can work at Evara Health. I love it. Love me some Dr. Rod, David Terry says, and $5 on the super chat. Thank you, Rolly. Always great content. Go Rays, go Bolts today. You got that right, my friend. Dr. Rod is the best. We love Evara Health and Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. Again, everahealth.org. Something that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. We had Eric Erlinson on yesterday, and he said, hey, who's the name of the guy that does kitchen and bathroom renovations? And I go, hey, it's Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and commercial needs. 813-244-0956. They can help you out. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. They will hook you up just like our guy, Eric Erlinson. Go to thehonesthammer.com. Shoot them an email, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. They got new pictures of their build that they just had in St. Pete. It is absolutely incredible. Fresh plot of land. You're looking for a new custom home. They can take care of you. And you want to be able to work with people that you trust. I can't vouch for people that I don't trust. Evara Health and Honest Hammer, I trust them. I really do. 813-244-0956. Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. You see it right here. We got the QR codes. So if you want to just use your phone, go to the QR code, and it'll take you right to the website there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Follow me on all social media platforms at Jay Recher. That's Facebook. That's YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest. I'm not on Pinterest. Honest Hammer JNZ discount code. Yes, JNZ. No, it's not a discount code. Just tell them that you're right here. And listen, I say this all the time. And the 3 super chats today, I can't thank you guys enough. Brian, Mugiwara, Cook, and Rolly. Guys, this is the way that we're going to keep this thing going. That and partnerships. And my partnerships with Honest Hammer and Evara Health, the only way that they stay with us is if we try to get them business and there's a return on their investment. So if you know somebody, not just you, if you know somebody and you can help out in any way, please tell them Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC and Evara Health, and tell them that you're right here on the Jay Recher podcast. All right. So in about 10 minutes or so, we will chat with Brian Schaefer, Rowdies defender, former USF Bull great. And at 1:30, Ed Encina from the Tampa Bay Times. Yes, my guy Zach cannot be happy that the Gators lost. I'm not happy that the Gators lost. I mean, I'm not a Gator fan, but it is what it is, man. All right. Let's see. Just making sure everything is going on here. You know, it's funny now that we're looking at all these different things, and shout out to Isaiah Nelson, who is going and trying to get drafted, and I wish him the best. And now we see that Rob Higgins got his man, Coach Chris Mack. And this is a name that if you are a college basketball fan, you know. This is not necessarily an up-and-comer. This is a guy that was the 2016 National Coach of the Year. And he's the guy that led Xavier and Louisville to the NCAA tournament, a pair of 20 win seasons at the College of Charleston, 15 seasons as a head coach. Again, Xavier from 2009 to 18, Louisville from 2018 to 22, and College of Charleston at 24 to 26. 12 20-win seasons, 9 NCAA tournament appearances, an 11-9 record there, 4 Sweet 16, 1 Elite 8 appearance with Xavier. This is a big deal for USF. He's one of just 19 coaches in college basketball history to lead their team to a number 1 ranking within the first 2 years at their school. And when you think about this hire, you know, and I'm thinking more and more about this with USF and USF. My passion for USF grows by the day. This is a big hire. When you bring in a guy like Chris Mack, it's a little bit different than everything else. Now, does this mean he's going to stay here? Does this mean he's going to be here for the long run? Not necessarily. But this is a guy that's already gotten a taste of kind of what the other side looks like, right? Elite 8, number 1 overall in the country. What is he looking for here at this point of his career and this point of his life? This is a different type of hire than what we saw with Amir Abdur-Rahim and with Brian Hodgson, because this is a guy that kind of like, I don't want to say his best years are behind him, right? But like he's already achieved a lot. Like Amir doing what he did as an assistant, then Kennesaw State, and then USF. Like we knew that it looked like he was going to have an incredible coaching career, whether it was at USF or elsewhere, right? He could have been an elite 8 guy. He could have been a number 1 guy, right? Brian Hodgson coming from being Nate Oates' top assistant and then going to Arkansas State, now USF, and now to Providence, right? Like it's a different like step of the journey than where Chris Mack is at right now, right? He's older than both of those guys. And I think this is very important as well for USF, because you know how vocal I've been, probably the most vocal in the last week or so, of just being pissed off that USF is still a stepping stone here in 2026. And it's just so weird. Like people are just so like brain dead on social media. You guys are a mid-major. Duh. I know right now they are. What do you like? I don't understand. Pay attention. I'm talking about we should be better and we should be in a different conference. And I'm sick of it. But I know it's still going to be like that for the most part until this team gets to the ACC. And I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face. USF needs to get in the ACC no matter what. I don't want to go to the Big 12. I don't want to go to the Big 10. I want to see USF in the ACC. Go there, build a rivalry with Florida State, build a rivalry with Miami. You get to play Clemson and all the other great teams and venerable programs in the ACC. And then on the men's basketball side, you play Duke and North Carolina. You're telling me if USF is in the ACC the last couple of years that you wouldn't sell out the Yuengling Center to see Cameron Boozer and to see Cooper Flagg? What kind of draw would that be for recruits? That's where I want to see the USF Bulls, the entire athletic program, be. Get into the ACC. And that's just those 2 programs. I didn't even mention women's basketball and all the other sports to be able to go up against those ACC powerhouses. And you build those geographic rivalries. You go to the Big 12, yeah, you go there with UCF and you would kindle that, rivalry with them, but it's just not the same. Listen, and kudos to UCF for going to a big conference and getting that. That's great. But are you a rival to Kansas? right? Like it's just not, it's not the same. It's not the same, man. Get people on the Atlantic coast, get people in the Southeast that you can build a rivalry with. Imagine if USF played Florida State and Miami every single year in football and in basketball. Like, imagine that. Imagine if USF played Florida State and Miami every single year in a football or men's basketball. That would completely change the game. That would put them as close to equal footing with the Seminoles and Hurricanes, as close as they ever have been. And there's another aspect of this entire thing that I want to bring up again that nobody else will talk about. USF has to be careful that they don't turn into the race. And this is what I mean. What do we really not like about the Rays when it comes to their retention of players? We don't like that you buy a jersey and then a year or two later the guy's gone, right? You love that about the Lightning. You bought a Nikita Kucherov jersey 8 years ago. You can still wear it. You're still in fashion. Buccaneers. We just, obviously, you see Levante and Mike Evans, but man, if you bought their jersey 10 years ago, right? You're still proud. You're still rocking it. You can't do that with the Rays. And I looked at USF this year during some of their bigger games, and they weren't able to have as many people at the Yangling Center as we saw against FAU a couple of years ago when Coach Amir Abdur-Rahim had that team in the top 25. You don't want that to set in to Bulls Nation. And I don't even know if it's Bulls Nation. I think it's probably a little bit more do that. You don't necessarily want to be the team that has a different coaching staff and different players. We know that there's going to be a lot of different players because that's how it is with the transfer portal and NIL. Like, player retention is going to be tough. But coaching staff retention, right, is probably a little bit more important at the college ranks than it is professionally. Because you know that even if the player stays 4 years, it's just 4 years. You're moving on. And you have that confidence in the program and confidence in spending money to go watch and support that program because you know what that coach is going to bring to the table. Think about the buzz around USF basketball if Coach Amir had a second year. Think about that. That place would have been rocking. Think about Brian Hodson if he would have came back for year 2. Building, winning the conference tournament. You know, obviously falling to Louisville there in the first round, that didn't help. But what if Coach Mack comes in here and has some real good success early on and stays for 2 or 3 years? And this team, starting out one of the seasons, is in the top 25. That could be a game changer. We know the ultimate game changer is going to a different conference. We get that. But I'm just talking about what we can handle and what we can deal with right now. It has to be some familiarity. You have to have some consistency over at USF with the football program and the men's basketball program. It all trickles down from there. It really does. Whether it's fair or not, those are your moneymakers. It trickles down from there. So I like that both of these hires with Coach Curry and Coach Mack now, they're a little bit older. They're a little bit more established. And don't get it twisted. I guarantee you that I would love to see these contracts. I would love to see them. Because don't think that what has happened with Coach Jose Fernandez and Coach Brian Hodson, don't think that that kind of thing gets lost on Rob Higgins. It doesn't. How do we prevent something like this from happening again? How do we make sure that our fans can be invested in the coaching staff and know that they're not going to dip after 1 year? And if they do, financially, it doesn't hurt the school. Or you're right. Like, you understand what I'm saying. You get into a situation where you kind of, you cover your ass. That's what you want to do. This is a business at the end of the day. It's not easy. We understand. But shout out to Rob Higgins, got his man, and it's a new day. It's a new era for USF women's basketball, USF men's basketball. Can't wait to get back to the YC and support them. I am here at Benchmark International Arena, Lightning and Kraken tonight. I'll be here tonight. I'll be here on Saturday at 1 o'clock. But Saturday night, you know where I'll be. I'll be at Al Lang with my guy right here, Rowdies defender Brian Schaefer. B, what's going on, man? How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, man. When's the last time you've been here at the arena?
I actually came, I think, last week or
Oh, man.
weeks. Yeah, I had to come back.
You're a vet, bro. You're a vet. This is how it rolls here. Yeah, it's freezing in here right now, which is kind of crazy because it's hot when I walk into the arena. Then it's freezing. I have to go outside to kind of thaw out a little bit. Excited for Saturday night, but before we do that, let's look back at this past Saturday. And you know, my parents came. They were in the press conference there. First time ever going to a soccer game. And I was telling my dad just kept saying, that guy's everywhere. That guy's everywhere. And he's a baseball guy and a hockey guy, and he's not a big soccer guy. But, you know, for people that aren't into the sport, they think that the only guy that controls the game is the guy that puts the ball in the back of the net. But you were so dominant, stepping in, coming off your line, dominating the headers. You're the long throw-in guy. Like, how nice was it to be able to not just play well, but to be able to help lead your team to a victory in the home opener?
Yeah, I think it was a huge just anticipation up into the game, the home opener. Everyone's excited, but I mean, like you said, the defending is what we do, and that's our job. So we don't really get the spotlight on the goals, but I think being able to help and contribute to the attack is something that helps the team a ton and makes it a lot more enjoyable for us. We get to defend the box, and our big plays are blocking shots, saving goals, and doing all that, but being able to help the attack a little bit is also enjoyable.
Yeah, you'll get in there, I'm sure, on some free kicks, some corners. You'll get a couple of headers in there, no doubt about it. I was a hockey defenseman growing up, buddy. So if there's one media member here in Tampa that is always going to show love to the defense, it's definitely me. And see, they agree here at the arena, right here at Benchmark. It's like what do you call it? Rink of Dreams. So there's like these people that pay and they can play on the ice, which is pretty cool. I think it's pretty awesome. I would love to play a game on Al Lang, but I don't like running. I run my mouth for a living. I don't run my feet. What was it like, man, as a guy that went to USF to be able to play that game at Al Lang? Yeah, it's great to win, but like the celebration after the game was pretty badass too. Like to see everybody clapping for you guys, like that was really awesome.
Yeah, it was something that people talk a lot about, but you can never really feel it until you experience it. So everyone said the atmosphere at Al Lang. I went to a couple games while I was here in college, and the atmosphere was good, but it's a whole different perspective from being in the stands versus being on the field. So being able to kind of experience that from this perspective was special, and you could tell that there was a city behind you and a group behind you that really was supporting us. So having that kind of just pushes us the extra distance. So I think that was huge.
You know, one of the things that I've been able to do over the last 12 years is, you know, soccer is growing right here locally. And you've seen it obviously playing at USF, but I try to educate our fans and our watchers and listeners on this show of kind of just the ecosystem of soccer, right? And showing them relegation in the European side, you know, guys going on loan, and people don't really know what on loan means, right? And they don't understand, like, oh no, like your team's gonna like go play for them and go get some action in because we don't have a spot, or like we just want you to grow. Like, what is that process like for you, knowing that like you're a guy in Cincinnati and then they're like, hey, how's that conversation go? Like, hey, we want you to go on loan. And then how did the Tampa Bay Rowdies become that option and that answer?
Yeah, I think it was kind of the next step for me in my career. I played MLS Next Pro for a couple years, and I was ready for the next step. So for that, it was USL Championship, playing against grown men, faster, bigger, stronger, and had a little taste of it at the end of last season, but still needed a little bit more. And I think that next step was a full year of playing and getting meaningful minutes. And obviously when you hear the Rowdies call, it's a no-brainer. There's great history here, great players, and then you get to see the pieces that they're putting together and bringing in all these big names. And I mean, it was an easy decision to come get minutes, but also win a championship and do something meaningful for the city.
Yeah, what is that like to be a guy that, you weren't obviously here last year for what was going on there, and being able to see just the last 5-6 years, to see Leo win the MVP, and the team, unfortunately lose to Orange County in the final, and like it was rough last year, and I still went to a lot of games, and it just felt weird because the Rowdies are one of those teams that are usually at the top of the USL Championship, and I know it's pretty much a completely different group, and it's Dom's first full year with the preseason, but is there kind of that thing of like, hey, we got to live up to the expectations of the badge, because this isn't just a team that competes, this is a team that contends in the USL Championship?
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, we've had many meetings with past teams and just figuring or getting to know there's the history of the Rowdies and what it means to play for them. It's not just another destination to play a year at or play for a season at. There's history, and like you said, they were at the top for so long and struggled a little bit, but I think it's time to kind of bring them back to the top and put them where they were years ago and where they stayed. But I think just being able to be a part of that and being, I guess, seeing it from the years before while I was at USF to then last year, the differences, I think, is something to really strive for, to have it like it was in the past.
And that's one of the greatest things. And for me, being a guy that's covered sports, pretty much every sport, at every level for the last 12 years, I don't know if there's a team in the Tampa Bay area does a better job of leaning into their heritage and their history, quite like the Rowdies. Because
froze a little bit.
It's really awesome. It is really awesome. Brian, let me ask you about, this growth for you. When you were a kid growing up, who were the guys that you modeled your game after? Were you a guy that was always a defender as a taller guy? It seems like everybody starts as a number 9 and eventually they just work their way back. Where were your inspirations as a kid growing up? Was it U.S. men's national team? Was it teams in Europe? Like, how did your kind of soccer life, how is it molded?
Yeah, so I came from a sports family. My mom played basketball in college and my dad played football, so we had a ball involved from a very young age. And I think we all played. I have older sister and older brother. We all played sports and played them together, played on teams together. But I think it was 9th grade year, I think, we had to decide on our sport because it started to get a little hectic playing a bunch of different sports. So for that, it was soccer for me. For my sister, it was soccer. My brother played football. But I wouldn't say it was really a soccer family. It was a sports family. But I watched U.S. national team growing up, and it was cool. They had some friendlies in Jacksonville over the years, so they would come stay at the hotel near my house, and we'd meet them. So that was always something that was cool. But I never really played center back. I was, like you said, an attacker, and started out as a attacking mid, high school kind of striker, then went to college, was a center mid, defensive mid, and then I think junior year of college, I played my first game at center back, and I've been there ever since.
Nobody goes back the other way, do they?
No.
It's like, we should try you up front, buddy.
Yeah.
So who do you is there a not a national team? Is there a big club that you support now?
I'm not a huge soccer.
Okay.
I don't watch. I watch it to kind of learn from it, but I don't really watch it in a sense of following. Because I mean, like I said, I didn't really grow up that way. We were
right.
Patriots fans and Celtics fans, Boston teams. So that's kind of.
Is that who you still follow now?
Yeah, parents both went to Boston University, so they're those teams. But living in Jacksonville, I kind of started following the Jags and other teams.
So you're not a soccer nut like our guy Lewis Hilton. That me and him almost talked for like 30 minutes the other day on soccer. He's a West Ham fan though, so I feel bad for the guy. I'm a Manchester United fan, so it doesn't get any better either. What's your favorite part about being kind of back here in the Bay Area? I mean, obviously playing for the Rowdies is pretty damn cool, but as far as like, restaurants or what are you doing on days when you're not on the pitch?
Yeah, I think big started fishing again a little bit in the Bay. Obviously, that's fun, but
Yeah.
looking around for a golf course. I'm a big golfer and
Okay.
haven't found. I've played a couple, but trying to find a good one. So, if you have any recommendations,
I'll let you know, man. I played the you didn't get a chance to go to have you ever gone to the Valspar before?
yeah. So I went out. I have a buddy who plays out there on the tour,
Okay.
so I went out on Monday and got to see it.
Oh, who was it?
It's Jeffrey Kang and his caddy
Okay.
Johnny Moffett.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, we go out every year. My parents come down from Long Island. We go every Friday and every Sunday. So we sit by the 8th green on Friday, and then we sit by the 18th green on Sunday. So
Yeah.
we play every year media day. They let us play on the course
That's
like
fun.
3 weeks before. So I'll hit you up next year. You could be in my foursome, all right? Because
Perfect.
Darren Radish from the Lightning was asking me like, gee, I saw you, because he's a huge golfer. And he's like, I saw you birdied 8 and 15 at the Copperhead. And I'm like, bro, I don't even really play. And he's like, thanks for the invite. And I'm like, dude, you're in Toronto playing a game, bro. You're a professional athlete. You can go whatever the hell you want, man. What's it like being a guy, going into a team with like a bunch of new players, right? And how do you kind of find, and I was asking this a couple of weeks ago, like who the captain was going to be, because the last couple of years it's been Aaron Guillen, and you would think it would be Lewis Hilton, and obviously kind of wearing the armband, leaning you guys out. But how do the other like leaders come to the forefront on a team with so many new personalities?
Yeah, I think it's just like you said, Lewis has been here and knows the culture of the team, knows what the logo and the badge really means. So I think he's a great, and obviously his qualities soccer wise are great. But then there's other players who kind of step up when they're needed. Like there's different moments that call for different kind of leading, and there's not, I think we talked about it before, there's not one leader that everyone like listens for one voice. There's everyone kind of takes their turn when it's needed. And I think that's what really helps the team.
Is it better that way? Is that better, or is it just kind of, is it distinct to the team? Because you look at, especially because of soccer, because you wear the armband. We see it in hockey with the guy with the C, and you hear from some teams, from sports, it'd be like it's better to have that one guy that you all look up to, that shining beacon. But I've also heard in the past it's better kind of when other people chip in. I guess it is one of those things where it's distinct to each group, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely dependent on the team, because it could cause problems if you have multiple guys kind of trying to be it. But when you have a healthy locker room and a healthy group of guys, like people kind of feed off each other to step into that spot. It's not like someone's trying to compete against someone who can be a better leader, who can. People just take their turns, and when it's their turn to lead, they step up and do their job.
What does Coach Dominic Cassiato demand from you guys?
I think his biggest talking point is just always effort. Just you can always have an off day here and there, but as long as you're competing at 100%, trying 100%, doing everything to your full effort level, it's all that they can really ask for. And I think we have the quality of players where if everyone's given 100%, even if we're not at our best, we're still going to be one of the better teams. So just constantly giving your all and working harder than the guy across from you.
Is there ever a feeling of knowing where you're at as far as in the table? Like, and I know it's maybe like you can go back to your college days too, is like, when you play a couple of teams in the conference, like we're one of the better teams in the conference. Because a lot of people have asked me on Saturday, like, y'all beat the defending champions 3-0, right? You beat the defending champs 3-0 after how poorly the team played last year. Like, you don't want to obviously get too far ahead of yourselves. It's a game at a time. But at what point of the season do you kind of have an idea of where you stand and where you stack up, and you don't necessarily need any more measuring sticks because you know where you are?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the table tells you
Right.
It's early now, but the table will tell you where you're at. I think for us, it's just taking it game by game. And like you said, it's the defending champs, but it's a new year. And for us, it's a new team. So we took the week to prepare for that game and took care of business. Now it's on to this next weekend and doing that. We're not looking 4, 5, 6 games ahead and being like, oh, if we win all these, we're here or there. It's just taking week after week and taking care of business. And then I think when it comes to the time where it's later in the season and table standings really matter, we're going to look at it and be in a good spot.
Before I let you go, Brian, give me your pregame and postgame routine. Are you a music guy? How do you go out to the pitch at the same time every game? And then postgame, are you like a cold bath guy? Are you a sauna? Like, what's your pre-match routine and post-match routine, and is it the same?
It's for the most part similar. So it starts on Friday night. I like to have a nice steak and potatoes and some good carbs and protein, and then obviously get to bed early, but then wake up Sunday morning and kind of just relax. I have a pretty big breakfast and then relax for the rest of the day, kind of take a nap, I'd say from 12 to 2-ish, 12:30 to 1:30-ish. And that's kind of just kill a little bit of time so I'm not sitting there thinking about the game.
Right.
And then when I wake up, it's usually time for pregame meal. So I'll have pasta, chicken, just the typical stuff. Then I like to get to the stadium somewhat early. So for 7:30 game there around 5:35. And that's when I kind of start to, I would say actually on the drive over is when I start to, I'd say lock in and listen to the music and kind of really focus on the game. And then
What kind of music you listening to?
There's everything. On the way over, it's more kind of like worship music and just more relaxed vibes. And then before kickoff, like when I'm stretching or that, then it's when I really turn it up and it's more rap, upbeat, just
There you go.
getting into it. But yeah, listen to that. I do same stretches usually before every game, but then in terms of like on the field at the same time, I don't have any of that superstition. But just kind of show up and get ready to go.
And what about post-game stuff?
Yeah, post-game is I'm a very boring guy. I shower, get my meal, go home, and I like to get to bed as quickly as I can.
Really?
Yeah.
No, Netflix? You're not binging anything on Netflix right now?
Not right now. I watched Landman for a little bit. So
Nice.
That was a big one, but not anything right now. If I can't sleep, I'll put on the game and watch that back, but usually I'll wait till the next day or so.
Beautiful. Brian Schaefer, Tampa Bay Rowdies defender, former USF standout. B, it's been really nice to get to know you, my man, and I'm so happy that you're here back in the Bay Area. You got to get some rest, man. We got another big one Saturday night. I'll be in attendance there at Al Lang. Appreciate the time. You're the best. Keep on rolling, man. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Got it. Brian Schaefer, what a great kid, man. Unbelievable. You love to see our USF guys come back home and to do big things to the Tampa Bay Rowdies. The way this team is defending, you keep clean sheets, man. You keep clean sheets. You give yourself a chance, and that's something that we remember from Neil Collins, right? We remember from Neil how important that was, and now with this team, and you had Forrest Lasso as the guy right in the middle of that back line, and Brian's that same cut from that same cloth. He's a dominator back there on the back line. I cannot wait for Saturday. I'll be there at Al Lang Stadium. Hopefully, I'll see you guys too. The Lightning play at 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, and then the Rowdies play at 7. So, full day watching our teams here in the Tampa Bay area. But rowdysoccer.com, all the information there. Go check it out. They have camps for your kids, little Rowdies, junior Rowdies, but rowdysoccer.com. Go get your tickets today. There's so many theme nights. I just recorded my radio spots for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, so you're going to be hearing them on iHeartRadio before you know it. I love it, man. I love the Rowdies. I think that's one of the things. And Skyway Casuals is here. Shout out to Ralph's Mob and Skyway Casuals, the big supporters of our Tampa Bay Rowdies. 0 shots on target from Pittsburgh. Brian was the core of that, no doubt about it. And if you could stand out to my dad, who's not a big soccer guy, and he was just so apparent. It was just so apparent. You saw him out there. It was a beautiful thing. What also is a beautiful thing is the people that we work with here in the Tampa Bay area. And we always want to support local, like our guy, the last real oos, Eduardo Encina. What's going on, bud? How are you?
What's going on? That's a great intro. I appreciate that.
You got it. What are you wearing? What shirt is that? Monorail? Oh, I thought it was.
Oh, it's a monorail. It's from like the Seattle monorail. You ever
Nice.
taken a monorail?
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
years ago.
That's
I
old
actually,
school, man.
so Monday I was going to wear my my Danhausen shirt, but I said I can't wear it until I wear it on a Thursday with Ed. So I'm like, okay, and then I'm like, oh wait, I'll be at the arena on Thursday. Maybe next I'll be at the arena on Thursday. Gosh darn it! So I'm.
You should have had under your suit.
I know you're right, but I'm gonna wear my very nice, very evil Danhausen shirt for one of our Thursday appearances because I've had that thing for. It's been a couple years now. I've been at Danhausen. So when they signed him, I was jacked up. I was one of those people that, he came out of the box. It was Danhausen. I loved it. There was no type of hesitation or I was not unhappy at all. My girl Marissa wants to know, so it's not the Disney monorail shirt?
No, it's not the Disney one, even though that one is equally as great.
You got that right. How's the pup doing? How's Raleigh?
Raleigh, where is Raleigh? I have no idea where he's at.
That's all right.
He's doing all right. He's doing all right. He's like it's getting warm outside. So his dog park visits are, we gotta make sure he's getting his energy out, but also monitor him because it gets caught. You gotta make sure your dogs hydrate, and you gotta make sure they they get all of their nourishment. So he's doing good.
I know what she's saying here. Obafemi Pop was nuts, but I feel like that's something that could be like somebody's name. Obafemi Pop was nuts. You know what I mean? Like that's like a guard from American Samoa that plays for the Ravens. Obafemi Pop was nuts.
Oh man,
the buzzer liked it.
Left guard for the Ravens.
Left guard for the Ravens.
He played college ball at Washington.
He did, or Oregon. He's Haloti Ngata's cousin. Obafemi Pop was nuts. Vita Vea and him, they went to middle school together.
Yeah, for sure.
We love you, Shannon. All right, to get serious here. I opened up the show today talking about Victor Hedman, and I said it's very dangerous to be able to speculate when things go, like this, Ed. At 3:15 yesterday, we get the announcement that he's taking time away from the team for personal reasons. And what I articulated to the group here was that regardless of what we think may happen or we think is happening, he's been through a lot. He's been through a lot this entire year, from the injuries to the surgeries to the Olympics to his dog passing away to him not playing well to the team playing really well without him. Like, what I think at the end of the day, we just want Victor to be of sound mind and sound body, and he's always been so great to us. And like, as much as we want to see this team advance, and it's better for everybody if this team does well, but like him in particular, I just want him to be okay.
Yeah. So Victor, I mean, this is one of the things that we get to see being in the room and being around these guys. And I've covered a lot of professional athletes, and I was listening to your opening segment. I think you called him one of the most respected athletes that we've seen here in Tampa Bay. I think we know that, and we also see that he's one of the most respectful athletes in Tampa Bay as well. Right. He's a guy who he finds a way to make everyone around him feel important. And that's one of the reasons why he's, been one of those guys that's a go-to guy in the room, who's one of the leaders on the team. And one of the guys who, I think a few years ago, everyone was super happy when they were able to sign him to an extension to keep him here, essentially for the long term. And again, I don't want to speculate either on what the situation is with him. Obviously, we know it's a personal leave of absence, and you're right. He has been through a lot. This hasn't been by any means the easiest year for him, both on and off the ice. And that can obviously get to you just like it gets to anyone else. I mean, and I think the main thing to keep in mind, like you said, is, these guys are human, and, in some ways, in a lot of ways, they play under a much bigger spotlight than you and me do. Everything they do is analyzed. Every step they take is analyzed. And, they know that's a part of me. Victor's been in the league for 17 years. He's always taken that, as a part of the job too. And he's played through a lot over his career. I don't think anyone can forget the way he gutted through, I think 46 games during the 21 Stanley Cup run. Like we saw that hit that he took in I think in March in Columbus. He was basically crawling off the ice, and he played with a torn meniscus. So the toughness level has never been questioned from Victor Hedman. And again, I think this is one of those situations where, again, you want to know and this goes for anyone, but especially in a situation with Victor, that that he's given the Lightning and Tampa Bay all that he's given, and you just want to know that he's in a good place, both physically, mentally, in all capacities. I think he it's weird because also from a reporting aspect, the Lightning aren't the most forward organization in terms of announcing their injuries. And, I know hockey is one of those sports that, you only have to give a certain designation, and you don't even have to give that. Sometimes when you talk to players, they're very much forward about what they're dealing with when you talk to them in the room. Obviously, from the moment that he came off the ice in Vancouver, it was odd, right? But obviously, the news yesterday changes kind of everything with it, in terms of knowing, again, like whatever he's going through right now, and I know some people are going to speculate, and I know some people are going to try to chase this down and stuff like that. But I think, you just want to let the process all kind of come full circle and see him, see him back. Because, from a coverage perspective, from a personal perspective, the Lightning are so much better with Victor Hedman in the room and in their locker room. But sometimes if you got to take time away, I think that's the big thing too. That maybe in some ways that shows even more leadership.
And I want to ask you how, on a coverage standpoint, because you're the beat reporter for the Tampa Bay Lightning for the Tampa Bay Times. How do you balance out that journalistic integrity so that you're not coming across as inhumane or insensitive? This is where one of those things where, like, me doing what I'm doing, like, I can very easily go, I'm not touching it. I don't give a shit. I don't want to get into there. I don't need to be first. I'm not an investigative journalist. I am not willing to do that. I don't want any part of that. But you're the guy that, you can't tap out on certain topics. If something happens or something is announced with Victor Hedman, you have to report on it. But right. I said before, I don't know if you were listening to that part, but, I was talking to JJ Moser when everybody else was talking. I said, this is where you guys are lucky that you're in Tampa. I said, because we're not hawking you guys. We're not like, what do you know? What do you know? What do you know? And I gave you a lot of credit. And I said, you think if Ed was a jerk that he would have got that story on Darren Radish's dad, months before he passed away? Like, there's a certain candor that you need to have and a certain bedside manner that you need to have to be able to get it. And we know that certain beat writers are maybe a little bit more brash and a little bit more ornery than others, but I'm always curious on the journalism side on how you broach these topics and how you report on them, because I do think it takes a certain feel and a certain, hey, I got to have my finger on the pulse here to make sure that you're doing your job, but also not being offensive as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a big way. I mean, I don't know. There's different ways to look at it, but I think for me, it always kind of goes back to the human element. And by no means do I ever think that the guys that we cover are like us in a lot of ways. They have these superhuman athletic abilities. They make a lot more money. They Obviously, again, they play under a much different spotlight than we work under or anyone else works under in their day jobs. They're adored. They're, criticized much differently than we are. But also, like, I just look at it as a thing of respect. You know what I mean? Like, as a person, and my relationship with Victor is one that, like, I think that he knows when I've got to write something negative about him or something positive. And he's one of the, there's a lot of guys that you don't know how much they read until you find out that they read. And Victor was one of those guys who, like, he'll tell you, like, I read this story or I read that story, so he is a reader. He does pay attention, but at the same time, I do believe he's always told us is that when he gets away from the game, he really does like to get away from the game. But in terms of the coverage perspective of it, I mean, I think the main thing is just kind of understand that all these guys are human, right? And again, yes, I mean, we talk all the time about the market difference of Tampa versus Toronto, or a lot of these places, and I think the big difference now is that it's not even media now. It's people. Everyone has a forum now that they can be able to say, what they think something is, or what how they can interpret something, everything like that. So it's even more so than worrying about the 10 guys in a dressing room with media badges. But I do know that, I mean, like, again, I think there's definitely a fine line there. Like I said, like, I want to be on the pulse of everything, and this one is one that, like, it's okay right now for me not to know exactly what's going on and be able to delve in and figure all this out and give it to my readers. I think most people would understand that situation, because to be honest, I think most people have probably been in that situation, where something's going on in their life that they want some privacy, and they'll come back out of it, and everything will be good. I think it's also important too, though, that once this stuff, once again, the 180 circle of it is that Victor's always been someone who, and not everyone is like this, is that he's used his experiences as forums to help others, and so when he's ready to talk, I'll probably be the first one by his stall, to be able to say that and give him a forum to kind of say whatever he wants to say about stuff. So, or if he doesn't, and that's the thing I think too, is, like, I do think that sometimes we interpret guys that they don't want to say anything about something, but sometimes you have to give them that opportunity to say something if they do want to say something. There's been times when I've done that with athletes, and it hasn't really worked out. To, like, they're like, "Why are you asking me for?" I was like, "Listen, I just want to make sure that you have the opportunity to say something about something if you do." And especially because I do think that athletes do have that power and visibility to be able to impact others. And Victor's never shied away from that. So again, like, not specific to this situation, but I do think it's always kind of, each thing's a little bit different, but do I want to be on the pulse of everything that's going on about the Tampa Bay Lightning? Absolutely. A situation like this, I think the way my mind works is, you want to give the player his privacy and be able to go through what he's going through. And, like I said, I when he comes back and when he's available, I'd probably be one of the first ones to circle back and ask him if he doesn't want to talk about some of this stuff. I think that's kind of the MO that I've kind of used throughout my career in a lot of different locker rooms, ones that, have been ones that, aren't as media friendly as maybe the Lightnings are. I mean, there's a lot of good guys in that room that talk, being in there every day, is that, it is a good room. And like, we know there's some guys who don't necessarily like doing the media stuff, but for the most part, everyone's completely respectful about it, and they know that we've got a job to do.
So how do the Tampa Bay Lightning deal with the absence of Victor Hedman on and off the ice?
Well, I think, who was it who said this? I don't know who said it I think it was Nick Paul that might have said it this morning. It was just kind of, one of the big narratives or themes or mantras of this season has been overcoming adversity and overcoming, missing guys, injuries, stuff like that. So I think when you've gone through that and you know the process that you've been able to do with a, I know next man up is a cliche, but there's some good leadership in that room. Victor isn't a replaceable player in terms of his leadership or his ability to on the ice, but they've been able to get through some absences, some key players over all season long from day one, basically. And Nick Paul was hurt, a couple guys were hurt open the season, and I wonder if they've played 10 games this year with the entire group that they've had, their big group. So I think that's something that they've gone through. They know it. Obviously, this is a different situation, but everyone in that room knows what Victor's going through, I think, there is sometimes things like this can galvanize a team as well. This team, it is weird though, because this team has been through a lot this year off the ice. Darren Radish's situation, with his dad's, cancer diagnosis. Cooper with his father, stuff like that, obviously the stuff in the Olympics, the disappointment for Team Canada.
Point and Cirelli not going to the Olympics.
Cirelli not being able to go to the Olympics. They've been through a lot of kind of had to deal with some emotional things off the ice as well. So, which always kind of really pulls a team together in a lot of ways. I've seen it in a lot of ways. And we talked about that. We always talk about that 2020 team in the bubble, and how much those guys being around each other and being forced to be around each other in the bubble, really put that team in a, us against the world, no matter what happens kind of mentality. And I do think stuff like that can happen with teams, and especially when they're searching for something to kind of put things together. I mean, they're obviously playing better right now, and they seem to kind of got back to those winning habits that they maybe were lacking coming out of the break. And I think they're feeling good about their game. And I think, this time of the year, that's good. You want to keep that going. You don't want to necessarily hit a peak and, you want to get that going at full steam in the playoffs. But, they've done it without guys, and I think they'll continue to do it without guys.
What do you make of the team scratching Oliver Bjorkstrand the other night and having Scott Sabrin play? Is that more of a, hey, we need some toughness, knowing that you're going against McCarron and Foligno and some of those guys? Or is this – but it also doesn't bode well for a guy like Oliver Bjorkstrand, right? Yeah, I mean,
Oliver's been kind of an easy, lack of a better term, punching bag here this season, I think, a little bit. But
I don't mean to do it that here. I'm just it's the writing on the wall kind of pretty much.
No, I know. I do think that there was a purpose there that there needed to be a little bit more physicality to the lineup with those guys in there, and we saw that, right? I mean, we saw that early on with Corey Perry and the McCarron Corey Perry fight. That was a scrum, and Perry was the first guy in McCarron's face, and McCarron just kind of pulled him out of that scrum and was like, all right, we're going. And Corey Perry didn't back down from it, and we wouldn't think he would, but he was wearing a big.
He also blocked McCarron's fist with his face.
Right. So, but he's wearing a big old cyborg shiner right now. But I mean, I think in the room after the game, the guys were talking about how, those two fights, the Sabrin fight after that with Foligno, were kind of set. They made those guys kind of stand up, and maybe even see that right away. But that I think this team has, and to a great deal, it might be because of the Florida Panthers. I think they've developed this, tougher identity that they are not going to back down from anyone, that they are not going to, they're not afraid to get in scraps, and that they're going to defend each other. And which I think is a little bit different than Lightning teams of the past, maybe a couple of years. And I think, I honestly do think that the Panthers kind of brought that out of them, because they were pissed off and kind of tired of kind of seeing the Panthers being that kind of team that just kind of, physicals their way into the, through the postseason. I think that's a good thing for them moving forward. And I think that's a mentality that you want to have going in, especially, I mean, I thought that, the Buffalo narrative in Buffalo when they had that 8-7 game was, we're not going to, we're this up and coming team that is going to stand up to the big bully Tampa Bay Lightning. But I think as much as that is, it's the Lightning also making themselves that kind of team right now. And I think they have. And I think when you see guys, I mean, it's not that when you see Scott Sauber in the lineup, there's going to be a bunch of that stuff, but it's a good indicator. But yeah, I think that's, and I think Bjorkstrand will be back in the lineup, I think, tonight.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're gonna probably play him against Seattle's old club. You know, that makes sense. What do we have up on TampaBay.com, Tampa Bay Times right now, my friend?
Yeah, so there's so much stuff going on around the league right now. I think BCom's got so much different stuff they want to put in there. I mean, obviously Steven Stamkos is coming back into town on Sunday, and he's got the Nashville Predators in a playoff spot. So who would have thought that? We've got there's so much to talk around the league about different things. I mean, the BCom addressed some of that stuff that Connor McDavid said the other day. That was complimenting Coop and everything like that. What else was there? Oh, did you hear the thing? Jeff Merrick had something on his podcast yesterday about how he heard a voter tell him that he would not vote, or that voter would not vote for Nikita Kucherov for the Hart Trophy because he had a couple weeks off for the Olympic break, which if anyone knows Nikita Kucherov, they do know that Nikita Kucherov, if anyone, is not sitting in Cabo on a beach somewhere during the Olympic break. That he's taking a couple of days off and he's spending it, right back at the Brandon at the TJ Sexplex, hitting pucks off his stick and off the walls and off the yellows and everything like that for 3 hours a day.
That's right.
So, but yeah, some stuff like that, just kind of talking about some of the stuff going on around the league and related to the Lightning. So yeah, and then obviously we've got games rolling through to before this, which big homestand, but then some big games too on the road in Buffalo and Montreal and Ottawa. So we'll be at a few of those too. So
we talked about, you said like 10 people in there. I think there's 4 people in there. Look at that. Look at the photo. I changed it.
My head looks smaller now.
I took 20 pounds off you, man.
but my head,
what a guy.
That guy in the mask or something like that with his like little head or like in the big suit.
Oh, come on.
I appreciate you giving me a taking.
I did what I could. Your fingers look huge in this damn thing. Look at this thing. You could scratch Shannon's back from the other room. Look at that damn thing.
Going to go away, Jay. The 4. There's 4. There's how many? There's more than 4 in there. But Pat Maroon says there's only 4, so that's all that matters.
And I saw him the other day at the Valspar, and we were talking about the Lightning, and there was like this line of people that wanted to talk to him, and he's like, just wanted to talk about the Lightning, and everybody's like kind of looking at us. I'm like, we can talk later. Yeah,
or Pat loves it.
He does. He's the best. He's like, are we good? I'm like, yes, very good here at the Lightning. Ed Encina, Tampa Bay Times, the last real oos, Eddie in the Yard. Subscribe to the Tampa Bay Times, especially now baseball season starting today. We know with Levante David retiring, a lot of great stuff from Rick Stroud. All the stuff. I just saw the award that John Romano and Mark Topkin and Colleen Wright got from the Tampa Bay Times for all their work for the Rays in the stadium. So, I support local. Our friends at the Tampa Bay Times. It is so freaking important. And, always very appreciative of your time, my friend. Get some rest. Go ahead.
One thing I just want to address. I do have my original zip there in the comments.
Yes.
From Thaw.
Nice.
Yeah. What else we got here? We all talking about Cooch in the national media.
Shannon.
I think Cooch is gonna get some. Eric and I were talking about this today. He's like, I do think that Cooch is gonna get a little bit. You're seeing the narrative way a little bit. That he's becoming a Hart Trophy favorite now. So we'll see how it goes. But I think. I'll tell my votes. I'll come on later and talk about the votes too.
Yeah, of course. It's so funny. Like these national guys are like, hey, you know what's a great idea? You know what nobody's talking about? Kucherov for the Hart.
But that's what it takes. That's what it takes sometimes.
It does. It does. But it's just like you're so late to the party. Like you missed the 4 train, the D train. It's a lot. Ed, thank you so much for your time, brother. Go get some rest, and we'll see you tonight.
All right, buddy. See you later.
See you, pal. The great Ed Encina, Tampa Bay Times, support local. He is the best. Again, I say this all the time, and Ed's one of those people. Like the best part of our job is not the players, it's not the games, it's not the events, it's the people that we work with. And to be able to get up, I always told myself I want to make sure that when I work, I saw my dad work 3 jobs growing up and miss a lot of our games. I saw my mom taking care of 4 kids and then working in the high school. I always told myself if I was ever going to work from very young. It's part of the reason why I didn't pursue being a professional athlete. At about 16, I knew I wanted to be a broadcaster of some sort. And I always knew that I didn't want to dread going to work. I saw how tough it was for my dad to get up early and sell uniforms to the mailman. And, I worked at jobs that I didn't necessarily love and I didn't necessarily like. And that was like my goal, like do something that you love with your profession. You're going to spend the majority of the time working. And to be able to do this and to be able to work with people like Ed and Eric and DeAndre and Corey and Julie Stewart-Binks, and it's amazing. It's truly a blessing. So if you can impart any of that knowledge on the next generation, is, find something you're good at, find something that you like and enjoy. Nobody wants to work a dead-end job. I mean, look at Rolly, our rock star over here. Every time he's on stage, how happy do you love it, right? I mean, it's crazy stuff. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me. Julie's going to join us on the show tomorrow. We'll find out what time. We'll talk some more stuff on the program. We'll be back at the home studio. Lightning in action Saturday and Sunday. Don't forget, Lightning in action tonight, 7 o'clock against the Seattle Kraken. Rays in action at about 4:15 today, so that should be a lot of fun. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at JRecher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Honest Hammer and Evara Health. Can't thank you guys enough. And our 3 super chats today, Brian, Mugiwara, and Rolly. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. I could not do this without you guys. Benny in the house as well. Big thank you to Ed Encina, as well as Brian Schaefer and Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. What a strong show here at Benchmark International Arena. Okay, I'm going to go outside and thaw out. See that, Benny? Thaw out, because it is freaking freezing in here, Mr. Bigglesworth. I got to go outside, warm up, and then I'm going to post a ton of videos, get some food, and then hopefully watch the Lightning beat the Kraken. Recher's Rapid Reaction coming tonight. I love you all. Stay out of trouble. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the J Recher Podcast.